All right, aloha and welcome to Own the Outcome podcast. My name is Tyler Devereaux, and today I'm here with Brian Davila. Is it Davila? Is that how I say it?
Yep.
I should have asked you that in the very beginning, man. But I'm glad because it means I've been saying it right this whole time. So,
Yeah.
Brian, thanks so much for being on the show, brother. Excited to have you here. And my first lead-in question. And for those of you who don't know Brian, first off, you're in for a treat. This dude is a wealth of knowledge in the business and real estate space. We'll definitely get into that. But most importantly, anybody watching on YouTube, can we just talk about your beard routine? Because, oh my Lord, that is a beautiful beard.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
I'm glad you like it. Everyone else hates on it on YouTube, but I love it.
Nah, hey, they hate it because they want it, bro. Okay?
Yeah.
Thing's no joke. How long have you been growing that out, growing your beard out?
It's been more than a year now. So more than a year.
A
Just
year? That's a year.
yeah, no
You're
routine.
a dick.
Yeah,
That's
no
a hell of a
nothing.
beard for a year, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's
Damn.
it's it, it's it's easier than shaving, so I like it.
I do agree with that, by the way. 110% agree with that. But because it's in good shape, like it's long, but like it's
Mm-hmm.
in good shape. So like how often
Yeah.
are you getting it trimmed and cleaned up?
Nope, never. I
What?
think I think I've gotten it cleaned up once because we had like a big event. But besides that, nope, I don't even care. I don't know. No, I barely like wash it. So I just I
That's
let the
gross,
Lord.
first off. Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about that later.
But yeah,
Dude, that's
nothing.
sick, bro. Your beard is legit for sure. It is
Thank
legit.
you.
I love it. Your wife, does she like it or hate it?
I think my wife likes that I have a beard, but she kind of wants me to trim it. And I'm just like, dude, I'm letting it grow right now. I'm just gonna see what happens.
I love it. That's dedication, man. That's dedication because it is hard to get, to let it get a little bit scraggly, but looks good. That's not what we're going to talk about today, though. But damn, your beard is sharp. I would
Thank
love to
you.
know about your journey within the space, though, because you've been, man, in the real estate space for a long time. Also, social media presence is phenomenal, so we can definitely talk about some of
Mhm.
that as well. But let's
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about your journey, how you got into the space. What did that look like for you? How did you get started?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I started real estate in 2016. Right before that, I worked at a bar at the Palms, and then I worked at a casino at the MGM, and then got my real estate license and did realtor work for a few years. And then I met my partner now. His name's Ryan Pineda. I met him in 2019. He taught me how to start flipping houses, started flipping houses. And then I've been flipping houses and wholesaling and buying rentals since then. Um, done a few hundred transactions. And then we did an education company together. So our real estate companies were separate. But grew a company called Wealthy Investor to over $10 million a year from nothing. Um, and yeah, now we're here. And now I do a little social media, still focusing on real estate. And that's about it. And spreading the
Love it,
gospel.
man.
That's it.
Yeah, I love that you guys do that, by the way. Ryan's been on the show. Definitely know Ryan. And here's a question that I actually wasn't planning on asking you, but I think is super valuable for people to understand. You came in, Ryan, you met Ryan. Ryan started to teach you the business. How did you get to a point where you became business partners, right, with that person? Like, what did you do? And don't tell me nothing because it was something. Like, what
Yeah.
separates you, Brian, from the rest, and what made you elevate to that?
Yeah. Well, it definitely isn't nothing because, like, someone successful is not going to partner with someone for nothing. Um, I think one, I mean, obviously we built a good friendship, and then two, I've always produced results. So I didn't come in as a partner. I started off as like a manager, and then, you know, I think when we started, the business wasn't even making seven figures. I don't know the exact I don't remember the exact number, and I don't want to quote it, but um we got it to seven figures a month, and then it went from a mastermind in his living room with 7 people to these WealthCon events where there's, 1,000+ people every 90 days. So definitely just, results driven. And yeah, that's about it. Nothing that is extraordinary.
But it is though, because you had a bigger focus, right? Like results speak for themselves. But
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
there's not very many people who will come in and, like, you started as a manager or whatever. Not
Yeah.
very many people who will do that. It's like pride gets in the way of the ultimate goal, the ultimate journey. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, everyone's growing and building building together, and as you continue to produce value will come back to you. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's been fun to see what you guys have built. You and I started about the same time. I started in the multifamily space around 2015, and
Oh,
to see your journey and, dude, Ryan's journey, you guys' journey, you guys just blow up over the last few years. It's been awesome, but it didn't just happen over the last few years. You guys laid a groundwork and a foundation to be able to get there. And one of the main
100%.
things that I wanted to talk to you about is certainly, the skill sets within the business. But what I love about both of you is you balance family and business.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you see so many people go all in one direction or the other. So how do you do
Mhm.
that? Do you have strategies, or how do you balance family, work, life
Yeah.
balance? And is it a balance?
In church. Yeah. So, um, right now, so I believe that, first, like number one comes your relationship with God, specifically being a Christian, right? Specifically believing in Jesus Christ and, feeling the Holy Spirit and going to church and doing all those things. So that comes number one. And then
Why?
because if you're rooted in that, it will bless everything else. So a lot of people, they believe that work and money is their God. So first they wake up and then they write affirmations on how much money they make. And then they look at their goals and then they go to work and then they work and then they go home and then their family struggles or whatever the case may be. And not always, but a lot of people. So if you're rooted in Christ first, if you seek the kingdom first, then it will bless everything else. And you will have good success. So when you talk about balance, it's like, okay, what are you seeking? Are you seeking monetary success or are you seeking good success? So good success is blessed by God. Just success is just a fleshly, worldly thing. So just having the right principles and perspectives on what you're doing in the very beginning, and then it will trickle into everything else.
So good, bro. A set of values, man. It's a set of values and standards that you live by.
Yeah.
But it's also, can you give an example by chance? Like, can you give an example of, I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe even a challenge or a situation, whatever, just an example of
Everything.
why. Say it again.
No, it's just to be clear, I don't believe it's a standard or a value. I believe it is a relationship with God. I don't have a list of
Yeah,
values, core value standards. I have a relationship with God first. And because of
okay.
that relationship, I address every situation a certain way. So, an example of what you were saying was you were asking for an example. An example would be I had a team member who he's going through life, right? Life's happening to him. He's struggling. Um, he's producing deals. He's doing great work wise, but culture wise and self awareness wise struggling. So he comes into my office, he's crying, he's expressing his feelings. If I were fleshly, I would be like, dude, you got to get over it. Like, come on, dude. Like, this is the work. Like, take your stuff home. But first, I need to, as someone who is trying to be the best Christian they can, I got to take care of him first spiritually and make sure spiritually he's okay before I address the problems at work. Because like some of his personal stuff was addressing problems at work. So instead of what the world would do is like, okay, this guy argued with this guy as an example. We're gonna write him up and he gets a 3-day notice. And if he doesn't fix it, he's done. Instead, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, what's going on? Let's figure this out. Let's pray for you. Let's figure out what is causing the outside turmoil in the office because it starts within. So like let's figure out what's going on in here first because that will fix the outside. So it's always like people try to treat the symptoms, they're not trying to treat the root of the problem. So if you are not having balance, it's because you're not addressing the root of the situation, which is usually your heart. So if your heart is filled with greed, then you will lack able to do balance because your heart is more focused on money and success and awareness or attention or whatever it is rather than your wife, your kids, your husband, your XYZ, your health. So that's usually like the main root is usually the heart of everything. Does that make sense?
Say that last part again. The main root is the heart of everything.
Yeah, the main root of all your problems is your heart. Wherever your heart
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
is where things are going to thrive. So if your heart is on making money, and I've been there before where I'm like, dude, I just want to make money. I want to make $1 million. I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to make it. I've done that too. Like I'm not sitting here holier than thou. Like I've never like put work before my family. Now, it's good. But before I was like, dude, I'm like Tom Brady. Tom Brady said, hey, football's number one and my family's number 1A. Like they are equal. Well, now it's like, okay, God is first, and then God will tell me and give me convictions and words and ideas on what I need to do, and then everything else will come after.
Yeah. I love that, bro. I absolutely love that. Like that is operating in alignment, and the amount of confidence that comes from knowing that that's where you're operating from. You're not worried about saying the exact perfect thing. You're not worried about doing the exact perfect, dude, because you just know that you're doing your best with the biggest intention,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, so one more question, then we'll move past it,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is, what are some challenges you've seen with that, right? And what I mean by that is like that example that you gave. Okay, this is somebody that's within my organization. It sounds like maybe they were underperforming,
Oh, they were
but let's
performing.
say,
They
say that again.
in that scenario, they were performing, but they
Mhm.
weren't getting along with other team members here. So that's why
Got
it's
you.
harder when you got a performer that culturally is
Yeah,
struggling versus like a non-performer who is not culture. That's easy to address. But when
easy.
someone's performing, you're like, dang, like, dude, now I gotta like figure this out.
Okay. So how did that situation go? Like, if are they
Mhm.
still there? Number
Yeah,
one. Number
of
two,
course.
if
Yeah.
they, good. Okay. So if they didn't change, now what do you do?
Well, that's a great question. So I think if they don't change, well, first of all, I believe they are going to change. But
Great answer to that, by the way.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
that. Keep going.
yeah.
Yeah.
So first, I believe they are going to change. Secondly, struggles. You asked like what are struggles with doing it this way, right? Struggles is listening to God because I believe God wants us, and this is I'm sorry I was turning into too religion of a thing, but
Bro,
I
I'm totally
believe,
good.
yeah, I believe God wants us to be patient. So my flesh will be like, dude, work from home. Dude, fix it or you're fired. Like, dude, let me come down on you and hopefully fix your issues with fear and anger. So like the struggle is, and it's hard, is to be patient. Like patience for me is hard. That's like actually like hard. Some people are patient. I'm not. So being patient, being faithful, I could easily cut them off and then go hire someone else. But I chose to bring him on. Chose to be a leader, and as a leader, it's easy to just let people go whenever you feel like it and get a new body. But yeah, that's actually hard for me. I don't know if you struggled with that or what's your experience with that?
Letting people go?
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. When you say lead with your heart, one of the hardest things is to realize that sometimes, for me, I'm saying, for me has been sometimes a separation, like going different directions, is what is best for both people, you know? And that's
Yeah.
challenging for me because I love people, bro. I love people. And so,
Mhm.
I believe the same way you do that it's like, it's not that it's my job to change them. It's not my job to change anybody. It's my job to, dude, be an instrument in God's hands for the betterment of all those around me, whatever that means. Sometimes you call it fleshly. My perspective, my fleshly perspective of that may be different than what God's perspective is. And so to just
Yeah.
be in tune with that of like, hey, God sees a bigger picture. Like, and I believe people come into your life and out of your life at different seasons for different reasons. And to just be grateful for that. Grateful for the season you had together. Also encouraging and loving and supportive if the season is, some sort of, going a different direction. Not to harbor ill will, not to harbor like, man, I can't believe that they made that decision. And just know that like that's their decision to make, and that you want to,
Hmm.
support them and encourage them in that decision. And I think that ultimately is abundance, and I think that abundance is of God. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I've definitely struggled with that. So, yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, dude, love this direction. So number one, you said is God, and then the ultimate question, the first question was just how do you balance the life and family? And you said, well, number one, it has to be God, and then you were
Yeah.
going, and I interrupted you.
Yeah. So number one is God. And then if that is true, then I feel like you will get clear, I guess, leadership from him. Like, okay, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So like practically, so like I don't work past 5. I don't work on the weekends. Um, I definitely
How
don't
long
work
has
on
that been the case?
Sundays.
That's crazy. So never, like that's like you won't do it.
No, yeah, no. So
Dude, good
that's
for you,
Ryan
man. How
too.
long has that been the case?
A few years,
Good for
probably
you, man.
like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's been a while. It's been maybe 4 years, maybe 5, 6 years. It's been a long time. But so
Nice.
don't work on the weekends. I don't work past 5. Um, I mean that's pretty like holidays. I don't really work. So my first priority. It's easy to balance if your first priority is not work. Like priority, my third, my priorities go God, my wife, my kids, and then work. So it's easy to balance when your work is fourth on the list. It's hard to balance when work is number one. Because before
Very.
I was working on the weekends, I was working past 5. I was like willing to sacrifice everything for money. But after I think it was like 2020 ish, 2019 or 2020, I was just like, dude, I gotta like stop this. And now it's easy. And now like everyone knows, like dude, people get pissed at me when they text me or they keep calling me after 5. There was a realtor I was working with recently on a deal. He called me at 5:30. I answered. I was like golfing, and then he called me like an hour later. He was like, "Hey, I sent you the contracts," and I was like, "I'm gonna sign it. I promise." And then he called me the next morning at like 8:30, and then I was like, "Hey, like I work 9 to 5, so I promise. When I get to the office, I promise I'm gonna sign your thing." And then he went back to my acquisition manager and was like, "This guy, da 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 da." It's like, bro, I don't care. Like, no one. I'm not bending, and it's not even just because like, oh, like my wife gets everything from 5 after. It's just like, bro, that's my time. My life is not
Yes.
work. And I don't care enough about anything. There's nothing ever that important. Even Alex Hermosi talks about it. It was like, dude, if my gym's on fire at 9 p.m., why are you calling me? Call the fire department. There's no reason for anyone to need me outside of work hours because escrow's open 9 to 5. Nothing's closing. Like if someone on my team has like, honestly, they don't even text me past 5, so I can't even like say that that ever is like an issue.
Yeah. You
So that's
said
how
it,
you balance it.
I agree with that though. And you said it
Yeah,
wasn't standards and values, but that's a standard. Like you just set the standard, you set the tone of like what you'll really, dude, what you'll accept,
yeah,
And then you either do that or you'll accept whatever life gives you. And
exactly.
it
Yeah,
is, yeah. And it is challenging, man. Like, especially in the growth phase of you want to just go after everything, but you will burn yourself out quick. And once again, I very much know that from experience.
Hmm.
You'll just get burnt out. But if you just set a standard, people will just realize that that's what it is, and they'll work within it. You don't lose
Exactly.
opportunities. Yeah. In
Mhm.
fact, you gain respect, in my opinion. You gain people's respect because you actually value you, yourself, your family. You have priorities, right?
Yeah, and then it also forces you as an entrepreneur to set things up. So I have salespeople that they could work past 5, they could do whatever they want, but I'm pretty sure sometimes they work past 5. I'm pretty sure the guy that is doing operations, he'll work past 5. So if something needs to happen after 5 or on the weekend, it will get done, but it won't be done because of me. And if you set those standards or those boundaries, it'll force you to address the problem where, hey, if something needs to happen, who's going to do it? It's going to get done,
Boundaries.
but it's just not going to be me.
Yeah. 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 No, dude. And that's what you've set up. Like my boundaries are different. I definitely will work on, the weekends. I'll definitely work past 5. But one of the things that I learned, and this is like a couple years ago that I really put this into place, is what you just said, like scheduling and putting the family priorities first and sticking to
Mhm.
those. Because if not, listen, none of this matters without them. None of it. None of it matters. Like you
Yep.
take everything away from me, financially, businesses, whatever. Listen, I still have the most beautiful family and I have a beautiful relationship with God, like you mentioned, which helps me have a beautiful relationship with myself. And I know that I can recreate or do anything. But on the
Yep.
flip side, I have all the success, whatever worldly success, wealth, but without the family, without those kind of, I mean, shit, dude, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
You know?
And some people are willing to pay that price. So that's why you just have to know, there's plenty of successful guys that get divorces. There's plenty
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
successful guys
Yeah.
that, you know, they lose their family and they're willing to do it. So if you are, that's okay. But for me,
Yeah.
that's not okay. So that's why it's easy for me to balance because I know what my priorities are, and work for sure will never be I will never be a slave to money. I'm just gonna I'll make money, I'm gonna do business, but I'm not gonna be a slave and give up my soul and my wife and my kids for money.
Yeah. One of the biggest, I learned Ed Milet. I was listening to Ed
Hmm.
Milet and he said something along the lines of, you have to identify what you're willing to sacrifice or lose. Like
Hmm.
what are you willing to lose or sacrifice here? And then you state it clearly. And then what are you not?
Yep.
What is completely off the table? And I
Yep.
think not very many people actually identify that, which makes it very murky, very gray.
Yep.
You have the best of intentions, but intentions get very murky without true, definite purpose, definite aim. Okay,
Yep.
so along this journey, you've definitely had challenges. Somebody looks at yourself, somebody like yourself, fit, beautiful family, great business, phenomenal beard. And it's like this dude hasn't, everything just must go perfectly for this dude. So my
Yeah.
question is, what is the biggest challenge? This is kind of a broad question. You can choose whatever challenge, but like, is there one that comes to mind when I say, what's the biggest challenge you faced within the business sphere? And then how did you,
Yeah.
overcome or get through that challenge?
Um, Dude, business wise, I would say we've myself and you know a couple of companies have safe has faced financial hardship like crazy. We're there's been times where I literally in the beginning of my career had like 10 flips and I had like 10 grand in the bank account. And I'm just floating all these flips on just lagging on payments, waiting for properties to sell so then I could use those funds for other properties. So I would say over leveraged has been a problem before, and it freaking sucks, dude. Like when you're super over leveraged and the market shifts. So when the market shifted in 2022, when you're flipping houses and rates go from 3 to 7, you're going to lose money. That's
Mm-hmm.
the reality of the situation. So I would say 2022 was super hard where No, everyone stopped buying. Houses started sitting. Prices are getting cut crazy. Like I think, I had properties that I thought were going to be worth 625, and then people start listing their houses for 550, and now like I'm up. I'm like I'm not even worried about making a profit. I'm just worried about getting my money out of a house. So I lost a few $100,000 in 2022, and just dealing with like, okay, well, now the business model that I have doesn't even work. So like, not only am I like fighting to keep profits and get my money back, but now what am I going to do moving forward? Because you can't keep flipping houses at a rate, the same rate that you were when house prices are good. And it's the same with multifamily. When rates went up, you can't just go buy whatever apartment you want just because there's upside. Like the business model completely changes. So you got to learn a new model, and then you got to get out of the current situation that you're in. So I know with house flippers and multifamily people that got wiped out when interest rates went up in 2022. So I would say that was like the hardest. So what did I have to do? I had to like sell everything, and then I got deeper into wholesaling, and then I went deeper into education. So that way I could use those funds to keep the house flipping business afloat. So I would say that was definitely like the hardest time in like my real estate career.
And when you look back at it, do you consider that now a blessing, or have we not reached that point yet?
No, I mean, I knew it was a blessing because I was in real estate. I think it was like 2019 or 2018 when interest rates rose in September, and it got really hard. So I knew that was going to happen. So I should have paid more attention because the Fed is like, hey, we're going to raise interest rates. Hey, we're going to raise interest rates. Hey, we're going to raise interest rates. And then when they raised it, I'm like, holy crap, they raised interest rates. So I should have been paying more attention. But I feel like at the time, everything was just going so great. So it's just like, dude, you got to make the money while you can. So I'm actually very proud of how I handled it. And I'm proud I only lost a couple $100,000 because I know people that literally lost everything. I know people that are still struggling from the properties that they bought in 2021 or 2022, multifamily and house flippers. So I'm not disappointed or at all. I just feel like understanding the game that you're in. If you understand, if you flip houses, you're gonna lose money at some point. Like no one just bats 100 flipping houses. Like it just doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? Like, and not every multifamily property is going to pencil out how you thought it was, right? Because if every business plan was a success, then dude, we all be rich because all of our business plans
That's
always
it.
look great until you buy the property and then you're like, okay, rent's not as high as I thought it was. This repairs are not as low as I thought they were. Okay, I thought the lender was gonna, refinance me at this rate, and it actually came back higher with a higher loan amount. So real estate investing is extremely uh risky. You could make millions in real estate investing. You could also lose millions as a real estate investor. So as long as you understand that going into it, um, it won't hurt as much. And then also if you're running if and luckily I was in real estate years before uh the interest rates went up and down. So I had a very firm foundation on how to do real estate where the people that came in 2020 and 2021, they had fake success because everything was making money. Almost everything makes money when interest rates are at 3%. Like
Yeah.
everything kind of looks really good when interest rates are at 3%. You could make mistakes. You could underestimate rehab. You could underestimate all these things. But once it's at a stable or a flat market, that's when you see who actually knows how to do real estate and who doesn't. And the people that didn't, they weren't investing, they were gambling. They were it was good, it was
Mm.
smart gambling when percentage of you winning is high. Yes, it's very good to take advantage of that, but when you don't actually know what it is to actually run comps and actually take into account capex and vacancies and all these things, it's just it's hard. Like real estate investing is actually hard. and it was easy for a minute, and now it's hard. And that's why you see less and less people promoting multifamily. You see way less flipper uh, influencers. It all went down because of now you actually have to learn how to run these things. It's not just banking on money from the government.
Yes. Oh, bro, you nailed that answer. It's so true. Is like I used to always think so. I've taken 17 multifamily deals full cycle. Bought, carried out the business plan, exited. So two of those though have been at a loss. The other 15, good. Two at a loss. And those two at a loss, I learned more from those two than all the other ones combined, dude, because those two make you hyper focused and hyper aware of, well, mistakes and tendencies that you have and things that you overlooked. And I used to always think, man, I will never invest with somebody who's lost money. Now I realize somebody who's never lost money, somebody who has lost money and they're still in the game, that's a resilient son of a gun, dude. They're resilient. Somebody who hasn't lost money, they're not even in the game yet because they don't even know what that means. Like they just haven't been in it long enough. If you've been in it long enough, you've seen challenges, dude. You've had struggles, you've had trials, or you've had them and you're no longer in the game.
Yeah. Why did you lose on
That's
those
it.
two? Like what went wrong?
So it's very similar to what you said. So these apartment deals, we actually exited a big portfolio, and I love this question, by the way. We exited a big portfolio in 2022 right before interest rates went up. So here's what's crazy. Think about this. We exit $99.7 million of real estate,
Oh shit.
2022, a bunch, but right before rates went up. And why did we do
That's
that? Because
good.
we're like, dude, rates are going to rise. I think that we can exit now at the peak and then and exceed returns in year two that we, or 2 or 3 that we projected in year 5. Like, let's do this. We exit, and then literally, we bought 2 properties, 2 big apartments on the exact same day, and those are the 2 that I lost. And those 2 were things that we talk about like a standard. Like these are our rules of investing. And if you don't have rules of investing, well, then you're gambling. You're not
Mm.
investing. Like you should
Yeah.
have rules, and we had rules, and we didn't abide by those rules, which is crazy. We
Yeah.
played it perfect with the exit, but then we rolled into things that dude, there's going to be headwinds with anything, but we bought things that knowing that there were going to be headwinds, but still not projecting those headwinds forward. I call it shock the variables. Like look at all the variables, and you have to shock them. And meaning, at what point does that variable take the deal out and makes it not profitable? And then
Hmm.
you have to, once again, real estate's a risk. Our job is to mitigate the risk. So you have to look at those and like, okay, we got to plan for the worst, hope for the best, cool, but plan for the worst. And
Hmm.
that was not what happened. We had way too optimistic of a viewpoint going into those, and pretty
What
much
was like
everything had to pen.
what
Go
was
ahead.
like specifically like what specifically about those properties were different than what you usually buy?
So I'll give you one example from one. Um, Number one was the plan. Like our business plan is typically 3 to 5 years, but
Hmm.
3 on like the short end, right? Like that we actually project and plan for. Like I may exit earlier than that, but I'm not planning on exiting earlier than that. We were planning on this one to do a 2-year refi in 2 years. Which remember, we just exited knowing the interest rates were going up. Or
Yeah.
not knowing, but having a good understanding that they're probably going to go up because they're at friggin' historic lows. I didn't think they'd go up as high as they did, but they did. And so we did a 2-year plan to refinance in 2 years, and we did a bridge loan which has an adjustable rate. Well, damn, and we bought that in June of 2022. So right after interest rates had risen a little bit, we had rate caps and everything in place there, but interest rates rose, so quickly that it almost, wiped that out anyway. And then we put in a property management company that we did not have a relationship with. It's another mistake. We did not vet through other people. Another mistake. We just went with our gut with them. Not a good idea. You should vet out your property managers. And so now what happens 6 months in, we have to fire our property management company. So now our whole business plan's behind. 6 months in, we fire them. We bring in another company. That company, AMC, which is who we usually use, did a great job, but now we're 6 months behind on our business plan. Then it's in Houston, Texas. So taxes double, more than double, almost tripled. And then our insurance went from 800 a door to 2,300 a door. So this perfect storm of, and then we have to refinance this year. So it was in July of this year. We had to
24.
refi in a higher interest rate environment, and we just couldn't refi for what we needed to. We couldn't bridge the gap and bring in investor money. It just didn't make sense, so we lost that deal. It's a very similar thing with the other property as well.
Dang.
So,
When you say you lost the deal, what does that mean?
Meaning I give it back to the bank.
Oh, it foreclosed?
Yeah, that's what I mean, bro. Yeah.
Dang.
That's how you lose
That's
money. That's
crazy
how
that
you lose
talk
money in
about
this.
that too. That's crazy. I've
Oh,
never heard
bro,
someone talk
it's
about.
of course, man. I'm not hiding anything. Like those are my biggest learning experiences. Those two deals are what make me the operator that I am today. Once again, I learned more from those than any of my other successes combined because it makes you come back to the drawing table, see what went wrong, see what went right, see where you went off course. Like when you have a success and you exit for a success, it's like, of course we did. We murdered it. Next. You know? I mean, we don't. We look back and see what we did, but we don't go with the scrutiny that I do when I have to turn it back to the bank. You kidding me? Jeez almighty. You go through a whole nother level of scrutiny when you do that.
Yeah, I've had so many multifamily guys on my podcast, and they never like getting real numbers from them. It's almost pointless having them on because literally I'm always like, so how much money did you make? And they're like, oh, we did very well. And I'm like, okay, you said these properties were going bad. Like, what happened? Well, it's just tough times. So I'm like, all right, well, you're not really giving me not much, but yeah, that's crazy. You're the
Well,
first person
I
I've
think
ever
that's a
heard.
separator because they probably don't know. Like when I look at own the outcome, well, I'll ask you first. If I ask you own the outcome, what does that mean to you?
I mean, it implies that you own the outcome of your situation or of the situation.
And how do you do that?
Well, for me, I mean, you can't because I believe that God is in control. But I believe how do you do that? Just by you try your best with just preparation and doing numbers and asking experts for help.
Okay, so let's
And,
let's let's
yeah.
let's let's take it back.
Okay.
You can't control the outcome,
Yeah.
but you can own the outcome. Meaning, your
Mhm.
outcome as a person is to return back to on this earth is to return back to heaven, correct?
Yeah.
Now, can you control it? No. Can you own it? How do you own it? You're owning
Mhm.
it with everything you're doing. How do you own that outcome?
Uh, Trying your best.
Is that a question or a statement?
No, I'm that's my answer. I don't know if that's the right answer, but
Perfect
that's
answer
the only
though.
way you
And
own it.
trying your best means, do you make mistakes? Do you ever sin? Do you
Oh,
ever
for
sin?
sure. Every
Me too.
day.
And so like the reason that I know, dude, that my faith is the foundation of everything that I do is because, bro, in life we need grace. And if we don't have hope and grace, bro, I don't know how people get through life without that. I just don't. It's like
They
I
have
make
vices.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably
That's when people turn to
that's actually very, very
drugs and
true.
sex
Yeah.
and all these things. That's why
Numb it.
I feel bad for the people that are struggling and they don't have God because I've been there too where I was addicted to drugs before and I was addicted to pornography and I was addicted to greed. I was addicted to whatever you can think of. I've done it. And it's because when you don't know what to do, when you're stressed out, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go drink. I'm gonna go to a club. I'm gonna like watch porn. I'm gonna just so you're gonna turn to something. That's why there was a
Yeah.
friend that I had who I was helping him and in the Bible it says confess your sins to your brothers and sisters so you could be healed. He told me some of his sins and I was like, "Hey man, like it's not normal, but it's very common what you're going through." And he was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like a lot of men struggle with XYZ." And just
Yeah.
but I knew even before he told me I already knew because most people, not everyone, but most people they're turning to some sort of a vice if they don't have a relationship with God. Not saying you can't be a great person without God, even though God is still there, but like, I should say a good person without believing in God, but like most people are going to turn to something. They're not going to tell you, but
Yeah.
there's something there for sure, in my opinion.
So, bro, that's exact. I completely agree with that, man. And now you have to ask that owning the outcome, in my opinion, is like really looking at that. What am I turning to? And is that thing that I'm turning to getting me to the outcome that I desire? Or do I even know what that outcome is? Am I just freaking drifting through life? A lot of people
Yeah.
are just drifting. They haven't even
Yeah.
decided what that even means, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Or their ultimate outcome for some people is to make a lot of money. So they're trying to make a lot of money. They're stressed out. They're working late. They measure themselves based on how they did that month. So when they have a bad month or they're stressed out, they go drink. And then they go to the strip club or they drink and then they go gamble or whatever the case may be. Like they're basing their worth and their success on money or success. And then if that's not going well, they go to their vice. Or they do well, they have a great month, and then they go and go to the strip club still. So um or whatever the case. You could take out strip club and put pornography, weed,
whatever.
alcohol,
Yeah.
vape, whatever it is. Because some people
Netflix,
do, yeah,
anything.
some people are like, oh well, I don't do XYZ. It's like there's something. There's usually something. Some people are so maybe there are some people that are so holy that they don't sin, but usually there's something, and if it's not God, it's probably not good.
That's a great quote right there, dude. That's a great
Oh,
quote.
I'm gonna write that down.
You should, bro. You should. That's good. And that's it, man. So to me, owning the outcome is truly looking at like what went wrong, what went good, and how can I be better, man? Like not perfect. Perfect is dumb. You're not gonna be perfect. I mean,
Nope.
that's like such a low level expectation. So it's like just know that and see the long like my tagline for my education company is think bigger. And people
Hmm.
think that that means bigger apartment deals or bigger real estate deals because we focus on multifamily investments. That is not what that means. Think bigger is here and it's long-term bigger perspective. Like
Hmm.
literally see the bigger picture. Are the actions that you're doing today are they lining you up with that bigger picture? And if not, man, you're going to be miserable. Like happiness, true peace, true fulfillment are short-term actions that are rooted in a long-term bigger vision. And that's religion 101, by the way, if you think about it. Like we do what we can today, the best of what we can be, the best that we can be, and then we'll live, in heaven for eternity. And
Hmm.
and that's what it is. But guess what? When you do your best today, you truly look at doing your best today, you'll live in heaven here today as well. Because
Hmm.
once again, God is with you as you're doing those kind of things. God
Yep.
doesn't God doesn't look down at you for messing up.
No.
That's not how it works. Like I look at my kids, bro. When my kids mess up, make a mistake, and then recognize it and correct it, there's few times that I am more proud as a dad than when they do that. It's like
Hmm.
it makes me even connected to them even more. I love them even more, than if they were to just do everything right. It's like because I look at that and it's like, man, you continue to do that and that's how you respond to challenges, to something that didn't go right, instead of making an excuse as to why it didn't go right, you're going to have an amazing life both here and in eternity, right?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. I love the conversation, bro, and I love the route that it's went down. And my last question to you, I know that I want to be respectful of your time, and this is a whole different direction than I was thinking of going, but dude, it's going to be so valuable. In fact, first off, it will be, bro. It'll be so valuable for those who are listening because it's real life, it's real life, man. It's real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
It's
I think
the
most people,
biggest.
what I always say on my show is most people don't lack information. They lack courage. And for some people, they don't lack information. They're just lacking a relationship with God. And they think it's money. They think like, dude, if I had a bigger house, dude, then and I've been there. Like I have a story that I tell at WealthCon where I was sitting in my paid off house. My house was paid off. It still is, thank the Lord. But paid off house. I have a beautiful wife. My wife is legitimately beautiful. I have beautiful kids. I have two golden doodles. I have three cats. I have a Mercedes Benz. I have watches. I have this. I'm speaking with on stages. I'm partners with Ryan Pineda. My social media is doing well. And I was literally living in hell mentally. Mentally, I was literally so anxious that I'm like, should I go to work? Am I working hard enough? But I want to be at home with my kids, but this, but that, but like all these racing thoughts all the time. And I thought, I'm like, dude, like, I need to buy a bigger house. My house at the time was like 3,700 square feet. I'm like, if I have a bigger house in like a gated community and I have a home office, then I think I'll be happy. And then I caught myself. I'm like, what the like? What are you talking about? Like, I have an office, and I do live in a gated community. So what is happening? Like, why am I thinking that I'm missing something on this earth? And then when I get that thing, then I'll be happy. That's not how it works. That's literally not how it works, and it sucks because most people they lack courage or they lack a relationship with God. Let's talk about the courage part. There are people who are Christians or not Christians, and they know what to do. They know how to analyze deals. They know how to raise capital. They have a mentor like you, but they're just scared to take action because they're scared to fail, or they're scared to pick up the phones, or they're scared to hire, or they're some sort of fear is stopping them. And it sucks, but those two things are usually like when you get down to it, what people are missing because the information's online. There's no secrets anymore. If you want to flip or wholesale real estate, you don't have to pay a coach. You could, I've asked Chat GBT, I was testing Chat GBT. Chat GBT gave me a workout plan with a diet specific to my age, my health, my goals, all these things within a second. So anyone can figure out anything with Chat GBT right now. You don't need coaching. So it's just that's what I'm like realize. I've always known that, but even more now as I play with Chat GBT and other things where I'm like, dude, like the information's out there, you know, but you just need courage or you need, God. And sometimes when you have God, you can still lack courage.
Yes. Yes. I
I don't know
love,
where
bro.
that
That is
came from.
so, it's gold. I think it's absolute gold, bro. Because I look at the times that I've made the biggest mistakes, and it is that. It is, I've known what to do, but I didn't know what I knew I should do for whatever reason. Maybe it was because I was nervous about ruffling someone's feathers. Maybe it was
Yep.
because whatever it was. And when that is the case, disappointment is in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Oh,
So good, bro. Thank you so much, man, for taking the time. I'm like literally so excited
sure.
to share this episode. How can
Yeah,
people
there
get a
you
hold
go.
of you, by the way? What's your,
Dude, they go to Instagram, the Brian Davila, or check out the podcast, Wealthy Investor RE. We'll have you on next time you're in Vegas. We'll have love to
so
have you
true.
on the episode. And yeah, I'm excited to see what grows from this relationship. I'm glad we met.
Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. Very excited. And impressed, brother. Impressed with your journey, impressed with who you are as a person, and appreciate you sharing that with us here. Just once again, bringing to the forefront and having the courage to do that. I've loved how you and Ryan have done that. It's been powerful, man. And I know that that probably doesn't come with headwinds, but it doesn't matter because you know the
Oh
bigger
yeah.
purpose.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. So to everyone else out there, man, listen, go share this episode, connect with Brian, go to their event. With the WealthCon is, man, it's amazing how every 90 days you do those. I do a big one. I do a bunch of events, but I do a big one every year. And the fact that you do a big one every 90 days, it's literally so much work that goes into those. I've heard a bunch of people in my network go to that event. They absolutely love it every time. So go to the event, pick up some tickets, connect, and then go share this episode with somebody who can find some value, and then live always with aloha. Peace.